What's up, big dog? Have you ever had your athletes, or if you are a pass rusher or a defensive lineman, period, have you ever gotten a season and you tend to start forgetting some of the stuff you worked on in the offseason? The pass rush moves you worked on, dealing with the double team, reach blocks, RPOs, your best pass rush moves, your go tos, your counters, all that stuff you worked so hard for in the offseason, you tend to start forgetting. This is why, for my coaches and athletes, this is why Zooms are very important. A lot of times with your teams, you may only get about 10 to 15 minutes in film with your positional coaches, but you don't always get a full hour of breakdown where you get to really break down yourself, what you did on that rush, what you did on that play, where your hands were, where your feet were, did you make the right choices, your pre-snap reads, all those things. You don't always get a chance to really break that down on your own pace and at your own time. This is why with my NFL guys, college and high schoolers, we do in-season Zooms. When I was an athlete, I wish I had that. I wish I had something to where I can actually take my time, ask all the dumb questions I needed to ask, so that on my pace and in my time, I could fully understand what I needed to do, what I needed to fix, and how I could fix it. Big dog, I highly recommend for you to have a in-season Zoom session, and I would love to help you. Go to bigdogfootball.com, and you're going to see Zoom in-season sessions. Click there. Let's set up. Let's get together, and let me help you be the best dog you can be at the line of scrimmage. You know what time it is. Let's go to work.
Work, work, work. Let's work. Work, work.
What's up, big dog? This is Coach Roll, and we are back in the lab with Big Dog Trench Talk. I appreciate every single one of you that have been listening and tuning in to Big Dog Trench Talk. You've been listening in on bigdogfootball.com, where all of my podcasts are, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. I appreciate you all listening in, because evidently we all have something in mind and something in common, and that is to be the best athlete that we can be at the line of scrimmage, and to be the best coach that we can be to help these athletes be the best that they can be. I am very particular about the things that I talk about on my podcast. I'm a person that does not like to waste time. I believe that time is one of the most valuable things, if not the most valuable things, that we all possess as human beings. It's time. Some people may say it's money. Well, I believe that I can lose money, but I can get it back. But I can't lose time and get time back. So I try to be very careful as to what I talk about, what I do, that I am very precise in what I do. I am very purposeful in what I say. And with that said, this next series I think is extremely important. With all of the experience that I've had as a player, as a coach, with so many questions I've had about, Coach, how can I be a better pass rusher? This next series is definitely going to be a podcast that's going to be relevant for a long time, for as long as football exists. The title of this next series, so it's not just this one podcast, it's going to be a series of different things that I'm going to talk about in relevance to this topic. And the title of this podcast or series is going to be called Got Sacks? Got sacks. Do you have sacks? If you do, why are you? Why are you being a successful pass rusher? What is it that you're doing that's making you successful? If you don't have sacks, why is that? Why is it that you are not being successful? You're not executing with your pass rush plan. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. And there are so many different things that need to be talked about in regards to being a great pass rusher. we often talk about being faster, which is very important when it comes to being a great pass rusher. We talk about being quicker, which is also important. Bigger, stronger. These are all things that definitely have the potential of making you a great pass rusher. However, we're not subject to those things only. What happens when the guy across from you is quicker in his kicks? What happens when he is stronger? What happens when he is more skilled? There has to be more to it than that. And so we work so much on being bigger, faster, stronger, which we should always attempt to be. I just don't think we always put the same amount of effort into not only developing our skill, but our knowledge of what it takes to be a great pass rusher. I think that it is such a chess game. I think that it is so strategic. I think that it is such a art form of war that we don't always do it justice and do our due diligence and spending enough time on learning what it really takes to be great at rushing the passer. Again, we get faster, we get stronger, we get bigger, and then now the next step has been, which we see all on social media, if we can learn all these pass rush moves, we can be great. If we can learn how to chop club, cross chop, chop spin, sweep, scissor, forklift, bull rush. Yes, these are all moves, and there are tons more. These are all moves that have worked for a lot of different athletes. These are all moves that have worked for pro athletes that we've seen over the years, present and past. However, what does not get broken down enough is what I'm going to call the W's and the H of pass rushing. Here we go. The W's and the H of pass rushing. When I was the educator, what was really important to me was to teach the who, what, when, where, why, and how of a topic, any topic. I taught history. I love history. Absolutely love history. I think it's important to learn. And the W's and the H was always, those questions were always a simple way, but a very efficient way of fully understanding a topic. If you were able to answer those questions, then you had a good sense and you were able to summarize what the topic was and what we were discussing. Likewise, when it comes to really understanding the ability, what it takes to be a successful pass rusher, we have to be able to answer those W's and that H. And this is where I'm going to talk about know before you go. You have to know before you go. I'm going to say that again. You have to know before you go. And as I'm saying go, I'm saying it as an acronym to get off. Right? Many coaches say and continue to say and will always say, get off the ball. Got to go. You got to get off the ball. And that is going to always be the case. But it really makes more sense when I know how I'm going, when I know when I'm going, when I know where I'm going, when I know what I'm going to do when I get there. I'm more confident, I'm more aggressive in my pursuit and my pass rush when I can answer those questions. My goal has more power, assurance, and I'm more prepped to execute when I can answer those W's and the H before I go. You have to know before you go. If you do not know before you go, you ain't really going. You're not really going because you're not sure. about how to go. Yeah, we know when to go. Ball is snapped. That's when I go. When the offensive lineman takes his hand off the ground, that's when I go. When I see his back heel move, that's when I go. We have a good idea as to when to go. Trigger tails, which I talked about before. That is true, and that's great. We don't always know how. We don't know when. We don't know where. We don't know always what. These are things that we do a lot of guessing about. I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying, got sacks? If you don't have sacks, it's probably because you don't have answers. You don't have answers to the who, what, when, where, why, and how of pass rushing. That's your plan. Your pass rush plan is going to be in being able to answer those questions. And the answers are not always the same week by week. They may change. Why? Because who you're going against may be different. What you're dealing with may be different. And that's where the work goes into. It ain't easy. Getting a sack is not easy. We rush the quarterback, depending on the offense we're dealing with, 25, 35, 45 times that game. And we might get there once or twice, maybe. And if you get there once or twice, that was a great game. That's how persistent and diligent and patient we have to be great pass rushers. Something has to be mentally, not necessarily wrong, but you have to have a different type of mentality to rush the passer 30 times. And you may get there once. You might get there once. It means to me that you have to be in love with the process of pass rushing. You have to be in tune with the scheme, with the strategy. Yes, we have to be tacticians, but we also have to be strategists. And that's where we don't put enough effort in regards to pass rushing. We roll dice sometimes. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Let's see if that works. It didn't work, or it did work. I tried it one time, and when I tried it once, maybe twice, I concluded that it doesn't work. We're not processing time. We're not processing breaking the offensive lineman down. We're not taking a lot of things into consideration when we don't know before we go. When we don't know what it is going to require for us to invest to beat this guy in front of me. What is it going to require from me to beat the scheme that I'm going against? I'm dealing with a system that has been schemed to stop me from getting sacks. I'm attacking, I'm pursuing a system, not just a player. I'm dealing with a scheme, a created system to keep me and prevent me, to discourage me from rushing the passer in the manner that I was rushing the passer on the first pass rush, when I was excited and I was hopeful and I was eager and I was hungry. But because quarterback's throwing the ball too soon, but because the ball is not being thrown a lot, but because they're doing way too much play action, all those things have discouraged me, and now my pursuit has died down because I didn't get it the first time. I didn't get a sack the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, maybe even the first game. Big dog, that just means to me you don't know the system you're going up against. When it comes to the art of war, you need to know your opposition. You need to do your work. You need to know what it is that you're actually coming across. What are you actually dealing with? When you haven't done your work, when you haven't done your research, when you haven't studied the guys before you that have been successful in their pass rushing, You haven't put in enough work to be successful and productive in your present time. You got to go do some more work. Luckily, I'm going to help you. I'm going to take the research I've done, the work I've done as an athlete, the things I've learned as a coach, and I'm going to share some things with you that are very important, that don't necessarily get talked about often. So, again, I'm speaking from a disposition of knowing, knowledge. Got sacks? Well, if you don't have sacks, my question to you is, do you know before you go? Do you have knowledge before you get off the ball? That is very important. What should you have knowledge of? I'm glad you asked. What you should have knowledge of is your offensive lineman. I'm going to start there. The offensive lineman you're going against. Have you studied? Have you watched film? Have you broken down the offensive lineman you're going against? Now, I don't mean just watch them. He looks quick. They look strong. You know, have you really gone through the 3 S's, what I call the 3 S's, as to how you break down an offensive lineman? Their stance, their set, and their strike. Have you done that work? If you have not done that work, that is a problem. Why? Because now you don't know enough. You don't know before you go. So you're guessing. So this is important. And what this alludes to, and I'm going to share this with you, poor preparation in film evaluation leads to poor practice. Poor preparation in film evaluation leads to poor practice. What am I saying specifically? Okay. What I have seen so often, NFL, college, high school level, all levels, is I paid attention to the offensive lineman, the center, the guard, the tackle, tight end, the offensive line's blocking scheme. You know, I paid attention to that. However, when I'm practicing that week or 2 weeks before, it might be a bye week, before I go against that lineman, I have not seen that look in practice. So now, I'll venture to say all coaches have practice scripts. And they have drawn up the plays that offense likes to run based on personnel, based on formation, based on down and distance. That defensive coordinator has done their work. And they're giving you a look with what that offense likes to do. And oftentimes, that is as far as they go. I'm not saying that they should do more. Some D-line coaches take it further. They now begin to dig and research and look at the offensive lineman's tendencies when it comes to pass blocking, right? Their kicks, their punch, all that stuff. And they do a good job of that, those that do, which from what I'm seeing is very little, to be honest with you. So watch this. During the week, most defensive linemen, they don't get that look during the week. For example, if that guard is a 2-hand under puncher, the guard that they're going against is not a 2-hand under puncher during the week. If they're dealing with a stab and grabber, an offensive tackle that stabs with the outside, punches and grabs with the inside, has a heavy post hand, They don't get that same stab and grab look during the week. If they are a offensive lineman that likes to jump set and then force you to counter, so they jump set you or short set you, they cover your course, they jump your track, pass rush track, and try to funnel you inside where they know they have inside help with the center. You don't get that during the week. What are you doing during the week then? Well, during the week, what you're doing is you're beating the offensive lineman in front of you. But the offensive lineman in front of you is not giving you the offensive lineman that you're going to see on game day. So you're beating the guy in front of you during the week, but the guy in front of you during the week isn't who you're going to see in the game. You're getting better at beating your teammate. You're getting better at beating a grabber, but a grabber is not what you're going to deal with in the game. You might deal with a puncher. You're getting better at beating an offensive lineman that likes to jump set and grab your shoulders and latch you in. But that's not who you're dealing with on game day. You're dealing with somebody on game day that likes to punch you away from their hip, that likes to play in space. You're preparing for somebody you're never going to see. That can be completely devastating to a pass rusher during the game because now they are playing somebody they haven't seen. Let me give you an example of how devastating this could be. If you are a boxer, you have studied your opponent, you know their tendencies, you know all of those things. So what do? And I'm not a boxing coach, so if I say something that is completely wrong, forgive me. I'm just putting pieces together. You go and find someone that resembles the fighter you're going to fight. And if they resemble him in height, in arm length, in feet work, in stature, but they don't necessarily have their skill set. They may have their skill set, but if they don't have all of their skill set, you teach that your sparring partner, the coaches, the trainers, teach them exactly what the boxer that the guy's going to see. You teach them. The sparring partner is being taught, this is exactly what we want you to do because this is what he's going to see the night of the fight. But imagine going through all of camp and your sparring partner is 5'8", short arms, likes to fight underneath, inside. That's the style of the boxer you're sparring against. But the person you're fighting is 6'3", long arms, likes to jab and keep you away, likes to, has a mean right hook, or whatever the case may be. You get what I'm saying? You spend all this time in camp preparing for somebody you are not going to see. Can you imagine what that boxing match is going to look like? Can you imagine the results of that fight? In my guess, that boxer is going to be ill prepared. It doesn't mean that boxer's not training hard. It doesn't mean that they haven't been putting in work every day. Doesn't mean that they haven't made the weight. Doesn't mean they're not in the best shape of their life. What it means is that they are ill prepared. There was error in their preparation. And that's where we tend to miss it. We don't always put enough precision in our preparation. We don't put enough precision in our preparation. The art of rushing the passer, to me, is such a beautiful thing. It is so rewarding when you get a sack because there's so much work that has to be done. And it is such a strategic thing. It is such an art of war that you do it a disservice by not putting in and investing in enough time in the preparation. We don't always put in enough time in, let me rephrase that, precise preparation. We prepare, but not for what we're necessarily going to see during the game. And that is number one. That is a big one. Not being precise in our preparation prepares us to play poorly. Not being precise in our preparation only prepares us to play poorly. Because what we were preparing for, is not what we saw during the game. Have you ever gone through that? Have you ever had an idea of the pass rush moves you were going to use? The moves that have been working all week. You feel good about the week. You feel great about the game. You've been getting after the quarterback. Excuse me. You've been getting after the quarterback all week, having a great week of practice. It's been working well in indies. You know, the drills have been going great. But when it's time to deal with that lineman in front of you and you try to apply the things you've been working on, it ain't working. Why? Because we often don't understand that it's not the move alone. Just because you know how to cross chop doesn't mean it's going to work against the lineman you're going against. Just because you know how to chop spin, it doesn't mean it's going to work against the lineman you're going against. Just because you have a great bull rush, it doesn't mean it's going to work against the lineman you're going against. Because there is such a thing as matching the move to the man. You got to match the move to the man, big dog. It ain't no guesswork at the line of scrimmage. Do the work and being precise in your preparation. What move do I do against that man right there? How do we determine that? How do we figure that out? Well, I'm going to help you. Number one, have you looked at the lineman's stance in front of you? Have you looked at their stance? I've heard from great pass rushers, Hall of Famers, in person. And I've taught this and they confirmed it. I still teach it all the time to some of my elite pass rushers that can understand and talk on this level and have this kind of conversation. Because you got to be careful about the level of language that you're communicating with when it is pertaining to pass rushing, if they can't comprehend that, right? It's like sometimes the level, how deep the conversation can go, you got to be careful because some people can't necessarily understand that because they're trying to learn how to get into a stance. How do I teach you how to evaluate and get information from an offensive lineman stance? You can't even get into one yourself. You get what I'm saying? So when I do get the opportunities with my pro guys and college guys, and we really break this stuff down, and sometimes my high schoolers too now, got some dogs. Have you looked at the offensive lineman stance? Sometimes the depth, so I work with offensive linemen too. You got to know one to beat one. You got to know them to beat them. Hard to beat somebody you don't know. When you're watching film, how much depth is in that lineman stance? Obviously, centers are foot to foot because they have to be balanced in their stance so that can go in any direction that they need to go into, right? Right, left, straight, zone right, zone left, kick back. Their stance is balanced because they're in the center of the offensive line. They're in the center. With a guard, how much depth does that guard have? How much depth? If there is a lot of depth in their stance, their back toe is further away from their front heel. Their back toe is far away from their front heel. It could possibly mean they're getting more depth in their set. Not all the time, Is that a tell? But most of the time, it definitely is. If that offensive lineman has less depth, talking about the guard now. So the back toe is on the arch or the instep of the front foot. Sometimes that indicates that they're not getting as much depth. This might be a short setter, a jump setter. This might be a quick 45 setter, possibly, right? But not necessarily a 60 setter or a vertical setter. They don't have a lot of depth. If their feet are almost even, most of the time they coming at you right now, right? So that's a guard, for example. A tackle. If it's empty, sometimes that tackle is not going to hide that stance. It's empty. It's pass. No backs, no tight ends. It's empty. It's go time. So you may see the back toe is far from the front heel. So because of the depth of the feet can speak to the depth of the set. The stance is giving us information is what I'm trying to tell you. The stance is giving us information. It's not necessarily just telling us whether it's run or pass or not. There are other things that we can look at that's going to tell us run or pass, personnel, formation, down and distance, right? Stuff like that. Those can give us, those are tells. Those are things that can give us information. So I'm strictly talking about pass rush. I'm saying pass setting for offensive linemen. I'm saying that the offensive lineman stance can give us information about their set. If the depth of their feet is shorter, sometimes it means that their set is shorter. Sometimes, okay? If the depth of their feet is greater, it means often that the depth of their pass set is deeper. Now, go do your work. Go do your research and see if that's true. But most importantly, you got to know who. Who am I going against? The stance, the set, the strike is helping me understand who. Because I have to match the move to the man. I got to know the man to match the move to the man. I have to do the work. I've got to know who I'm dealing with. And the stance of that offensive lineman in front of you is going to tell you a lot because we're trying to get as much information pre-snap as we can. We have to get as much pre-snap information as we can. And that's where film evaluation is important. Remember, I mentioned before, poor preparation and film evaluation leads to a poor practice. So we got to do better with our film eval, studying your opponent, so that we can be precise in our fight. The stance. Now we look at the set, the second S. We look at the set because we need to know the kind of set they're taking. Are they jump setters? Are they short setters? Are they 45 setters? Are they 60 setters? Are they vertical setters? Where is their pass set line? Where is their pass set line? Where are they going? Receivers have a passing tree. Offensive linemen also have a pass set tree. Where are they going? Because based on where they're going, is definitely going to tell us, watch this, how we attack, where our track should be. It's going to give us some information because you don't attack a jump setter the same way you attack a 60 setter. You don't attack a vertical setter the same way you attack a 45 setter. We attack them all with our track. We attack them with our track, with our approach, with our pass rush route before we attack them with our hands. We're already attacking them in our stance. We are already attacking them with our track. And then we attack with our hands. But that attack's already happening based on the past set track they're taking. We got to be precise in our fight. So what's his set? Again, 60, vertical, 45, short set. If he's a really good elite pass setter, is he a vertical jumper? Is he a 45 vertical? Is he a jump set and then gets back to make sure he can, move with your counter? I don't know. Because I teach some of that stuff to my offensive linemen that are ready for that level of pass setting to really disrupt the rhythm of the rusher. To disrupt the rhythm of the rusher. Remember, you got to know him to beat him. And so that second S, by watching film, when you're watching film, you looked at his stance. You have now seen his set. You've seen his set. Now we need to know, what does that strike look like? And over the years, there's another very important component that I think is important to pay attention to. Offensive linemen hold their hands pre-punch, and then sometimes their hands at punch or their hands at strike is different. So an offensive lineman may sometimes hold their hands low at waist level to keep their hips down. The lower the hips, the more mobile they are in their pass set. The higher the hips, the less mobile they are. The more they start opening their hips and chasing when they have high hips. So low hands can often keep hips low in their pass sets. Again, makes them more mobile, agile. They can take on powers better in their hips. But when they punch or when they grab, you would think that they're going to always punch low and grab low because their hands are low in their set, but their hands may be different at strike. And so that's very important. It's very important to know the offensive lineman you're going against, how are they holding their hands in their set? If their hands are low, do they strike low? Doesn't always mean that they strike low because their hands are low. Pay attention to that. But often some do. Hands are low, they strike low. Low hands. Low hands to me specifically is the L of the chest plate. When the L of the chest plate is being punched and grabbed, to me that's low. At the nipple line is low. They may hold their hands high and they may punch high. High, specifically to me, is above the nipple line. It's above. It's high on the numbers. It's high on the numbers of the jersey. It may be above the nipple line. That's high. Those are high hands at contact. They may hold them low and punch high. They may hold them high and punch high. Or they may hold them low and they may strike top. They may be a low hand setter, but a top hand striker where they're grabbing the wingtips. They're grabbing the shoulder pads. Why would they do that? That's bad technique. No, it's not. If an offensive lineman is going against a handsy, very skilled pass rusher that has really good hands, he's not going to always give them inside hands to attack. He may show them inside hands, but he may circle grab the top of the shoulder pad so that he's swinging at air. So it's bait sometimes. It's bait to have low hands sometimes, like I'm showing you my hands. And when you get ready to swing at my hands, I circle grab you. I can circle punch you. I've seen it, and it's smart. It's strategic. It's good. It's good hand play. Abracadabra. You see it, now you don't. My point being is that you got to watch film. You got to look at film to see. Knowing now what I know, I see his stance, I see his set, I see how he holds in his hands, and his strike. Now that I see that, Now we start preparing. Now our preparation is going to be more precise. Let me be specific. I'm going against this right offensive tackle. He is a 45 setter. Why is he setting me at a 45? Because he wants to widen my rush. If I do beat him at the top of my rush and he's 45 setting me, he's trying to widen me and get me away from the quarterback. So if I do beat him at the 4-yard mark, 4.5-yard mark, 5-yard mark, I still got to come in to the quarterback 5 yards. So my rush becomes a 10-yard rush. 10 yards vertical, if that's how you're pass rushing, if you're going vertical in your track. 5 yards vertical. I beat him with some kind of sweep. Now I got to go 5 yards inside. It's a 10-yard rush. I don't know how long a 10-yard rush is going to take. I don't know if I can afford a 10-yard rush. So now that I know I'm dealing with an offensive tackle that has nice amount of depth in his stance. He's a 45. His pass set is 45, angle 45. And he is a high hand puncher. Now that I know that, now I can prepare during practice during the week. I can tell the offensive lineman in front of me when it's scout team, listen, I'm not trying to beat you in the game. I'm trying to beat number 65. Number 65, his stance is like this. His pass set is like this. And he punches like this. Can you give me that look? I need you to be my sparring partner. I need you to give me this. And he's had a hard time with bulls. He's struggled with finesses. The speed to power isn't the best. He's a great counter setter. So he's handled spins well. He's handled counter sweeps well. But speed to powers and off the edge rushes, he's had an issue with. Can you give me that look? I need that look this week. Now, my sparring partner is giving me a good look. Now, you may get this in practice, which would be perfect, especially during team. I'm not saying during one-on-ones, right? Because that offensive lineman has to get better too. He's got to be able to deal with what he's going to see game time too. But I'm talking, can we get this look pre-practice? Can we get this look post-practice? Can we get this look in team? That would be great, especially team. To have your sparring partner give you a precise look as to what you're going to see during the game. Big dog, I guarantee you that there isn't a lot going on of what I just said. And that is so important when it comes to got sacks. If you don't have sacks and you find yourself guessing during the game, it means that our practice was not precise. Our practice was not precise, which means our production is poor. That's it. We've got to be more precise in our practice so our production isn't poor. We don't need to guess. We assess. We assess so we don't have to guess. We assess so we don't have to guess. The assessment happens in film eval, during your film evaluation, and you're specifically looking for, just talking about studying the offensive lineman you're going against, that man-to-man combat. I haven't talked about the scheme yet. That's coming next. I haven't talked about down and distance. I haven't talked about situational rushes. I haven't talked about the quarterback yet. That's coming. I'm specifically talking about right now the man-on-man situations that you are going to get. And when you get that man-on-man, when you get that one-on-one, you have to be prepped and prepared because we've got to be productive, which means our practice had to have been precise. Who am I pass rushing against? Who is this guard? Who is this offensive tackle, this center? Who is this tight end? Not necessarily their name, but what's their stance, their set, and their strike? When I can figure that out, now I know who I'm dealing with. And when I know who I'm dealing with, because I was able to answer those questions, then now I can match the move to the man. I can match the move to the man because I know the man. Knowledge. What did I say at the beginning of this podcast? I said you have to know before you go. You have to know before you go. And I just explained exactly what you need to know to be precise in your fight, to be precise in your practice, to be precise at the point of attack. You got to know before you go. You got to do the work. Got sacks? Well, if you got sacks, it means that you're able to answer those questions. Or you just a freak of an athlete, which they exist. I seen them in person. I wasn't a freak athlete. I had to work hard for my bone. I was a dog, but I had to work hard for every bone I got. Every time I ate, it was work. And I like that. I like that I wasn't the fastest man on earth. I like that I wasn't necessarily the strongest man on earth, which I was pretty strong. I was not the most skilled. But I learned to be a tactician. I learned to be a strategist. If I couldn't beat you with size, strength, and skill, I was going to outsmart you. I was going to out-scheme you. I was going to figure out a way at some point. And I appreciate that about what I had to go through to eat, because I'm doing that same thing now. May not be the smartest, may not be the most skilled, though I'm very skilled, though I know I'm very smart, and I'm grateful for that. A lot of great coaches that has definitely contributed to what I get to teach others. But one thing about me, big dog, I am going to figure you out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get it done. Now or later, I'm going to execute. I learned patience through persistence, and I learned that through patience. I'm not sitting there not doing anything. It's a working patience. It's a productive patience. It's a progress in my patience, because though I'm not on the field all the time, though I'm not lifting all the time, not hitting the bags all the time, and those times when I'm waiting and being patient for this game to come, I'm watching film. I'm learning my opposition, so that when I do go run and I do go practice, and so that when I do go train, my practice is precise. I'm going to figure you out. I'm going to figure you out. And I'm going to work you one rush at a time. And I'm going to set you up one rush at a time. Like I said, it's like chess. I don't know how many people play chess and checkmate their opponents without losing pawns. Right? I don't know how many people will checkmate their opponents without losing pawns. What do the pawns represent? The pawns, for me, represent setups. I'm setting you up. I'm not losing. I'm winning. Though you thought you were winning because you took my pawn, I made you move the way I wanted you to move. I made you go the way I wanted you to go. Because in a couple moves, in a series or two, it's going to set me up for a counter. It's going to set me up for a speed to power. It's going to set me up for a ghost move. It's going to set me, I'm working you, big dog. I'm not losing when I give up my pawns. I'm working the process. I'm trusting the plan. And I'm working you. I'm working you. And we got to be mature enough as a pass rusher. We've got to be confident in our pass rush plan. We got to know that we've done the film evaluation and our practice was precise. And now we have this plan and we can trust our plan because it's been working all week. I've put the plan in practice all week because my sparring partner was precise in helping me prepare for you. And so now that I'm prepared for you, I'm confident in my plan, and it's only a matter of time where I'm going to get home. That right there, that mindset, that mentality is very important. And the confidence and the mentality you got to have that type of attitude, it only comes in precise preparation. And precise preparation only comes through film evaluation. That's it. And that's important. Question for you. Got sacks? If you don't, now you know why. And Big Dog, I'm telling you right now, I'm just getting started. This was know before you go. Do you know that offensive lineman in front of you before you go? If you don't, you're guessing. You're guessing in a game that requires a lot of precision, that requires strategy, planning, scheming. Your weapon is insulting to the game of pass rushing. What you brought to this fight, what you brought to this war is insulting. Because the weapon you have, Big Dog, you are very ill prepared for what you about to get. Go do your work. Go put the time in. And honor and respect the art of pass rushing by investing more time. You know what time it is, Big Dog? Got sacks. Know before you go. I ain't done. I'm going to be right back. Let's go to work.